Brakes and Rotors today on the 04 Dodge Ram. Customer's complaint, or my complaint, is that we had a little shimmy in the steering wheel and a pulsation action on the pedal itself. So, those two concerns, if you ever hear them or if you have them yourself, good chance your rotors have been warped. And what will happen is, if you can imagine a disc spinning round and round and round, and two pads on either side of that disc, if it is no longer true and there's a warp in any bit of that, what will happen is that high spot, as it goes around, will hit that caliper over and over and over again. Every time that high spot hits that caliper, it's going to cause the brake pedal itself to pulsate. So you can feel it in your foot. You can feel your foot and the brake pedal just pulsate together every time that high spot hits. What it'll also do is it'll cause the steering wheel to shimmy left and right. And it does that because you're creating friction. We're going to pull the wheels off. We're going to inspect the pads and the rotors. Hopefully nothing turns up. Step one, let's get the tire off. Best way to do this is to leave the wheel on the ground, get your leverage, and pop it. Dude. Might as well pop the other side while we're here. I really like this guy. Something my mom had in the truck. When I got the truck from her, I inherited this with it. Get it up on jack stands. We'll pull those babies off. We'll get started. 1, 2, that's good. Don't lose these. Alright, so we're doing some brake pads, and if you can see that right there, that is what's left of the material on the pad. That is the metal behind the pad, and that is the piston that we were talking about. We could not have waited any longer to do this, otherwise we're gonna have some metal to metal contact here. So good thing we're doing this now. Alright, we've got the wheels off, we got the caliper bolts slightly loosened. We're going to see if we can compress the pistons, and if we can actually do that, that'll make the rest of the job go a lot easier. What we're going to do is we're going to put the pry bar in here. We're going to try to push these pistons back in. And if we can do that, what that's going to allow to happen, so when we put the new pads in there, which are probably about double the thickness of the current ones, it's going to leave room. It's going to make the whole rest of the process much easier. So let's get that in there. Just going to gently push and compress. What I used to do is pull this off first thing, get a C-clamp, put a 2x4 in here, push against a 2x4 with the C-clamp to compress those, but the way it is right now, it doesn't matter. Just stick the screwdriver in, compress that. Alright, well I'm happy with that. We'll pull the caliper bolts out. Beautiful. There you go. So what actually causes the vehicle to stop is these two pistons push against this pad right here, pushing this pad into the rotor, pushing the rotor into this pad. So as you can see, there's only two pistons. Some vehicles have two more pistons here and here, and it'll clamp down evenly on both sides, and that would be any kind of performance car, maybe even some heavier duty SUVs, but that's what causes the vehicle to stop. And look at those pads. We were not working with much here. They are, I'd say that's about the most you could get out of a brake pad without getting into the danger zone. Same thing with this pad. Oh my goodness. It's like not even picking up how thin they are. That was on the edge. Alright, so the next thing we're going to do, we're going to pull these two bolts right here. We're going to get this whole bracket off that holds the caliper. And we'll get the rotor off. We got some big bolts. Let's go get them. Bingo. Yep. Kind of thinking that. So if we were just doing pads, we would not have had to take that out. We would be able to just slide new pads in, rock and roll. Look at that. Should be a nice upgrade. As you can see, we waited till the last second. There's not much left on these guys. That should make a world of a difference. Time to put it back together. Always start them by hand. The last thing you need is a strip wheel stud. We'll put it on the ground and we'll torque it with the torque wrench. And there you have it. Brakes and rotors installed, 04 Dodge Ram. Not much to it. Fairly simple job. Probably rotate the tires too. Might have to pull it outside for that though. In this vehicle, the wheel bearings are part of the hub. They do not appear to be serviceable. A good way to check your hubs or wheel bearings is to lift the vehicle up. And in this particular situation, we have access to the bearing. And if we give it a little wiggle, you see that ever so bit of play there? Well, there's your problem. Next up, wheel bearings. Pretty awesome though. Put it all back together with the new brakes and rotors. Tighten the wheels up. Give it a little shake. And this is what we found. The last thing you're going to want to do after your brake job is to verify that you have adequate fluid inside the reservoir. As you can see here, our max line is just about right here, and the fluid itself is just under that line. So we're just going to top it off just a little bit, because the last thing you want to do is introduce air into the system. There you have it, brakes and rotors on the Dodge Ram. She's all set for now. We got a few more things we need to do to her before we can start working on the brown truck outside. That should be pretty exciting. But for now, we'll get this wrapped up, pulled out, and we'll see you next time.